So I don't know why we start like this sometimes. Like, let's just stare into each other's eyes. Oh, I sound like an old man. Ooh. Okay, seriously? Oh, you're so cute. Okay. Sorry, y'all. Why do I want to say y'all? I have no family from the South in the States. I don't know. I think it just sounds cool.
Who are you, Paula Dean?
Y'all. Who am I? Who?
Who are you, Paula Dean?
Paula Dean. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Hiiro. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, Rachel? It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too.
Been a hot minute.
Right? So now until the end of Hanukkah, well, Hanukkah's not even started yet, like all the month of December probably. The little bench that we talked about in the last episode, he's behind me and he's on my shoulder and my husband's in the kitchen and I don't think he realizes that every sound he makes is going to be picked up by the microphone. So unfortunately, you're going to have to leave.
Are you recording?
I am recording. Yes, we are recording. Oh, you might have just heard his voice. Anyway, yeah, well, honey, okay, we're going to have to just pause for a second.
For clips.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. It's all this morning, what I've been singing in my head is, where in the world is Michael Graziano or Graziano?
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes, of course. Carmen Sandiego.
No, but like, I don't know what generation.
Yeah.
I
played the video games and I watched the cartoon show. Like, oh my God, I loved Carmen Sandiego. She is fucking hot, man, with that red coat and long brown hair.
Right? So
yes.
The reason why I sing this is because our guest, who'll be on any moment in about 5 minutes or so, not even, is Michael Graziano.
Where in the world is Michael Graziano? Hey.
Throw a little Jew in there? I don't know. Hey, sure.
Makes sense.
Right? So Michael, or as I always knew him, is Mike. So I don't know what he prefers, but it's been many years. Michael still is the little brother of my high school sweetheart. So, again, not going to name names, but if you put 2 and 2 together and do your research, you might know who the high school sweetheart is. But in any case, I dated a boy in high school for like 2.5 years, which is quite a long time in high school. We were 15 to like 17 and a half or 17. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Michael was, he must have been like maybe 8 years younger. So like a good amount younger than his brother. And now what Michael's done over the years is finding out that he has become more recently, I think he completed it in the past year or so, the first young man, I think prior to becoming 30 years old, to travel every UN nation in the world. So he is obviously a travel junkie, a very worldly person. And then what he did is he developed this company or this branding while he was doing this and trying to achieve this. And I think he got a lot of sponsorship from different companies to allow him to do this because, as you can imagine, traveling is not cheap. The plane tickets alone, I mean, it depends on where you go, obviously. So he has a lot of sponsors. I believe he documented a lot of it. And then he developed a brand called Global Degree. So what I do want to ask him about, though, because we're in a pandemic right now, I mean, traveling is pretty much at a standstill. Exactly. So he had this amazing idea with the branding that he'd already developed for himself. Global Degree, actually, if you go on the website, I think it's globaldegree.co. We'll put it in the show notes afterwards, gives young people the opportunity to travel the world and do their education online while getting a global degree. So essentially, hence what the name is all about, right? So becoming globally aware, becoming globally educated, pretty cool. So that's what he has done. He just recently, I think it was a TED talk he did. I don't know. I actually feel like it was in England. Maybe I'm wrong. I want to, well, we have a lot of things to talk to him about, but he really, he definitely has a name for himself, built a name for himself. And more recently, he actually just developed a PR company. So probably because he can't travel right now very much. But he has a lot to offer, obviously, when it comes to, I mean, he's all over social media, like when it comes to online branding and media and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like now he's helping other people build their brands, and want to talk to him about that as well. So
What a mensch.
what a mensch, right? So, and without butchering all the things that he does, I will let him talk more about what he does. And I just looked it up again. So his newer company is called Mindful Media.
Cool.
So Mindful Media, it looks like they are a PR agency that works with mindful individuals and brands, maybe like ourselves, focused on leading their industries and community towards a better future. So it's, it sounds like he's partnered everything that he's seen and done, and he's starting to build some other businesses, and yeah, super stoked.
Awesome. I can't wait to meet him. And
Next,
he's your high school sweetheart's younger brother. I mean, I think that's a really neat note too.
oh my goodness, for sure. But like, I'm talking, it's been, I mean, I think all of you know how old I am now, but it's been like 20 years probably since
I love that.
the conversation. Although I don't know if he'll remember this because he was fairly intoxicated, but sorry, Mike, I just totally threw you under the bus without you yet. But it's actually interesting if we talk about this now and see if he remembers.
Yes.
So I remember, Mike, running into you downtown on Granville Street, like very late at night. And Granville Street in Vancouver is like littered with bars and clubs up and down the street.
Mhm.
That's the central party row. And for years now, they've actually, on certain nights, they'll close the street down. So you can literally just walk up and down the street without being worried about cars. And it's probably pretty smart because a lot of drunk people down there. So that was a number of years ago, but yeah, we'll see if he remembers that. Yeah, so exciting times.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I can only imagine with COVID and traveling,
Oh gosh,
the changes in society and how that affects people like Michael that don't necessarily rely on travel, but that really utilize travel to help them explore and to fulfill their life and their destiny, right?
yeah.
Because I'm
Oh.
not a traveler. I don't really enjoy traveling. So, and I think I'm in the minority of that to most people I talk to. Like, they always can't wait to travel. I'm like, I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, well, you are. I'm not like I'm you, but we've been friends since or while you have done some traveling, and
True. Yeah.
yeah, and you seem to really have embraced it.
Sure. I do embrace when I'm away and like being in different cultures and communities and stuff. I think my anxiety with transitions and anticipation and routines changing and getting
Yes.
settled, it's very unnerving, even though it's important and it's needed. So yeah, it's
Which to me, when I hear that, is just like very impressive that you would put yourself out there and we're not talking about just traveling within Canada. Like you've been to Europe, is that the farthest you've been?
Yeah, the furthest I've been within Europe though, and like distance wise is Barcelona, I would say. So like 10 hours,
Yeah.
10 hours flying roughly,
Mhm.
which
That's huge for someone. Yeah. I mean, this could be a whole episode on its own about travel anxiety and how did you prepare yourself, or was there any preparation that you had to or felt like you needed to do in order to jump on that plane? I mean, that's
yeah, I would love to talk about that for sure. I mean, in short, I basically like I was asked 6 months before by my father, hey, you are welcome to join myself and the family to go to Europe for 2 weeks, completely paid. Do you want to come with us? I know you're probably going to say no because you're not into that stuff. And without me saying, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? Sure. And his jaw dropped. And I said to him, I'm even shocked I said yes without giving a thought, but it's far enough away. And when am I going to have an opportunity to go to Europe for basically 2 weeks and have the time off from teaching to go and take to do it?
Yeah.
So I said, although I'm throwing myself into every single unknown that I could ever imagine, sure, let's do it.
Which is like, it's almost I'm dumbfounded. Like, it's amazing.
I'm dumbfounded I did it. It was extremely traumatizing, extremely traumatizing.
Yeah, no kidding. And interestingly enough, I mean, I grew up in my early 20s. I traveled a lot, specifically around Canada and a lot of the States, I was a sales rep for a fashion accessories brand company. And so I did a lot of flying and I was, totally comfortable with it. But then as the years progressed and I got a bit older, I started to become quite fearful of traveling. And now, as we said the word travel.
I love it.
Hey.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good.
How
are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, you totally froze there. Uh-oh. Oh. We can probably still hear you, Mike, but you are frozen in a very lovely...
I think we're frozen.
Here you are.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that was a gorgeous screech shot, though. My God.
Is it?
It was beautiful. Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Totally.
Where in the world are you guys?
I'm in Vancouver, BC.
So am I.
Oh, wander it on, neighbors.
Whereabouts in Van?
I'm in Yellowtown, but I like to say adjacent to Yellowtown because I'm not into Yellowtown. I'm like at Smythe and Richards, roughly.
Okay, cool. We're in West Van. We just have a little co-living, co-working place right now for quarantine.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And so, first of all, because when we grew up, Mike, do you prefer Mike or Michael now? Whatever. Like, maybe he's matured now and he likes Michael and that's just a thing. So
girls prefer to call me Michael for some reason. I don't know why.
It's more like, oh, Michael. It's
more like formal.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A sexy thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
First,
how do you guys know each other?
Yeah. So, and we're recording right now. If just so you know, how do we know each other? So it's becoming an interview on us now. All of a sudden,
it's good. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. We know each other through the yoga world. So we both and I live in Vernon now. So I was a yoga teacher in Van, and Hiiro still is a yoga teacher in Vancouver. I wanted him to actually teach at my studio. So I had a small studio in North Van for a few years. And instead of going that route, that kind of more business relationship route, we became really close friends. We just had this instant connection. And then hence the getting juicy as a Jew. We both just happened to have that
in common.
Yeah.
So I like to say, and even now we have to remind people that you don't need to be Jewish to listen to the podcast or to watch us. It's just a play on words and something that we have in common. And we're we're super ishy Jews.
But you can count on good banter though. That's one thing you can count on.
Yeah. And we are totally stocking that department. And so, yeah, I mean, we met through a correspondent of another teacher that taught for her. She was a student of mine at a different location. Yeah. And then Rachel and I started chatting on social media, met in person at Beautiful in North Van. And I was like, you're too good of a person to be my manager and a studio director. And so I just want to be friends with you because I'd rather not have anything come up as a conflict, whether it's financial or non-financial. Let's just be best friends. And, this is what's resulted after 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was prior to hopping on, Mike, does anyone ever sing this to you? Where in the world is Michael Graziano?
No. People don't say that.
Love it.
But a friend of mine, Melissa Roy, who's now the first Asian woman to do it, she actually dressed like Carmen Sandiego. She had like a red hat and a red
Oh,
and she was like spotted in all these different places. It's kind of cool.
Cool.
dude, I love.
That's awesome.
So we did a little intro just before you hopped on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just very, very brief. And I didn't want to butcher anything, but you know, I've been following you for a few years, and then I also said how we kind of knew each other back in the day when you were, Jesus, like 10. Were you 10 years old? I don't know.
That.
Are you joking?
No.
You don't know who I am?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, but I mean, like, no, because you were 10 years old.
Really?
Okay, no, you don't. Do you not know that? Do you not know our connection?
I think I do. Now you put me on the spot.
Sorry.
Jesus. Remind me.
Okay, no, well, Matt, and I'm not going to actually make you like sound like you're the dink now, but no, I dated your brother in high school for a few years. Like I was his, I don't like to name names, but now we probably will, but I dated John for like 2.5 years. I was his.
Oh my God.
Rachel.
I thought we knew each other from Air Cadets.
No. And I don't even, like, you were such a
Wow, you get younger with like decades. That's kind of weird.
What do you mean?
Like you look so fucking young. Yes.
See?
No, but seriously.
See,
Yeah,
a
you look
straight
younger
man's
now than
telling you
did
you look
20
young.
years
It's not
ago.
just the gay men. You look young as fuck, Rachel.
You look younger now than you did 20 years ago. And I can only say that about my grandma and you.
That
Where's
is,
the charmer? She's married, you know, Michael.
Oh, congratulations.
But I'm not.
goodness. No, you know, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. It's just like, you know, when I was 17. So, I mean, like, obviously I remember a lot more about those times. You were 10 years old, I think. But I hung out in your house like a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. And yeah, that's hilarious. Anyway, so that's how I was kind of following you over the years. After many years, it's like, that's little Mikey, like that's so cool. So anyway, yeah, with that being said, and like I said, we did do an intro to you about being now, were you at the time, I mean, maybe it's changed now, but you were the youngest to travel all UN countries.
Youngest Canadian and the youngest American man, because
Right.
I'm dual citizen, yeah.
Right. And so, and how long has it been now since that?
I got home February 27th, so about 10 days before global lockdown, after 6 years of travel.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What perfectly timed could that be? I mean,
Wow.
seriously, man. Wow.
Yeah. And Flight Center, one of our sponsors, they gave a dart toss to one of the raffle winners where wherever the dart lands, that's where you'll travel to. And I kid you not, we spun the guy around. He threw a dart across the room and it landed in China. And everyone was laughing. It was like the whole room started laughing out loud, being like, haha, like, you know, COVID's fake news. February 27th. And then March 10th, I think it was, the whole world shut down.
Shit,
Wow.
It happened quick.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did not realize that it was that, like, so that's when you finished your global degree, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Real. So, oh my God. I'm sure you've talked about this so much in the past few months. That is super impressive. So have you been nicking out on travel? Like, I can't even imagine.
Well, I haven't done a trip this year. I mean, I was writing a book on like my adventures, but then the whole kind of tone of the world shifted. I don't know if you guys remember, it was kind of a scary time. And I just stopped writing, and then I started up a PR company to help people get press because I was always good at that. And then next thing you know, like I haven't flown anywhere, and I just went to Mexico just for a couple weeks. And it's so funny, I'm now in quarantine. And it's funny because everyone says how jealous they are like of you down there. And here's my girlfriend. Come on.
Oh, hi, gorgeous.
I love it.
But when you come back, people literally treat you like you have the plague.
Yeah.
Like it's the stigma that goes with travel. And it's funny, it's really funny because it's international travel. Everyone says how you getting on the plane is the dangerous part because think of all those people and all the circulated air. But if I fly from Toronto to Vancouver, it's no big deal. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever, welcome. But if I come from the second I cross a border, all of a sudden, oh my God, like he has something, and it's just.
But the location shouldn't matter though. It's about the case counts that might be active in where you're traveling.
Exactly.
Right?
There's higher cases in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel.
And now here.
Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like that's slowly starting to change. Slowly. Just because I do know, I mean, maybe not as much, not necessarily with what our government is saying, because obviously you don't need to quarantine when you go to Toronto and you come back to Vancouver. So that's not a thing. Mm-hmm. But I feel people's attitudes perhaps people are getting, I think, a little bit more scared now again.
Yeah, you can feel it. And so I don't know, it's just a sad time for travel and tourism. There's so many people, mom and pop shops relying on tourism to get by.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm obviously grateful I finished when I did, but it's sad to see where the industry is at right now.
Yeah. Well,
but also with that being said, though, the amount of the sheer timing of you coming back with all this richness and the ability to unpack it all, and then for the pandemic to hit, and then for you to kind of be in lockdown, and then in the city that is your home, from my understanding, you then have that ability to be like, okay, well, this is the time to unpack and actually produce what I just experienced for 6 years and to use this as productivity. Because if you're still traveling now, you could still be just as productive, but you might be taking in even more information. And then it's like, okay, I have to backlog 6 years of information.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have a backlog, and I'm sitting on a pile of content, like hundreds and hundreds of hours of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, this would be a perfect time to go through that.
Yeah.
But that's always been a challenge of mine is I'm always so in the moment. There's so much excitement in the current thing that it's hard to backtrack on stuff. I mean, there's so much good stuff in there, like really is. But I'm always thinking like, what's next,
So we were just talking about actually travel anxiety just before you popped on, because something else that Hiiro and I share is we both have, lived with generalized anxiety and lots of other kinds of anxieties for many years. But just Hiiro talking about just what you said about like always being in the moment, it makes me feel like this could be an assumption, but that you are not an anxious person.
Not at all.
Yeah. So you were talking to someone who's like the complete opposite from us in that sense. So my question was going to be like how if you felt safe traveling, but you probably didn't even think much about it. It was just strange.
No. Well, you just assume the best in people and assume the best in situations. Prepare for the worst, I guess. But it's very much a reflection. Put it this way: if you guys traveled this trip I did, and you did it, and you were anxious the whole time, a lot of bad things would happen to you. A lot more than would happen to me. And I think it sucks to hear that, but it's like it's a reflection. The world's a reflection of you. I met a guy in Thailand. He said, everywhere I go, people want to fight me. What is it about it? Like, why are people so messed up? I'm like, no, man, you need to take a look in the mirror. Why does everyone in the world want to fight you? And no, I don't have any of that. I think if you travel the world in fear, some fearful things are going to happen to you. If you travel the world looking for a fight, people are going to try to fight you. If you travel the world smiling and open and accepting, you're going to get accepted.
True.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of self-fulfilling prophecy in there.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And actually, I should say, like, I've done a lot of traveling. I've never really been scared of traveling. It was Hiiro was talking about some of his anxieties surrounding that. But my anxieties are more health anxieties. So living in a pandemic is like, great. But yeah. And so then at the tail end that you hopped on the stage for a TED Talk? Was that?
Yeah. In Oxford, England. That was February 2nd.
Amazing.
Jeez.
Wow.
Which is funny because I got 1,000 strangers to hug and kiss and say they loved each other. Like, a week before the pandemic, you know. So had I done that 2 weeks later, I would have gone to prison, 100%.
Amazing.
Breaking social distancing.
You got all the love before.
Yeah. Well, because I was trying to show the power of the human connection. Like, humans are exciting. New humans are exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I proved that by just kind of starting with a small challenge, and I escalated. I tried to, you know, I made a joke of I was taking off my pants on stage, like, as a joke. I'm like, I want everyone to take off their pants. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was just so cool to see the elevated energy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of making the point that that's why I did it, to put out my fist for a fist pound anywhere in the world and receive a fist pound, to reach for a hug and receive a hug, to say I love you in their language and receive it back, just to see if I could get that type of connection any single corner of planet Earth.
Wow.
And the answer is it's exactly what I received.
That's a universal language.
Totally.
Yes.
Like that.
Right?
That's amazing. I love
Yeah.
it. Were you nervous to go on the stage there?
Yeah, I was. A lot of things went wrong. They switched up my times, and it was not a good setup, but I thought it went really well. And yeah, it's a little bit nerve wracking.
You didn't look nervous. I did. You killed it. Oh, there she goes, heading out the door.
Yeah.
Sunny there in Vancouver, you guys? Is sunny there? It looks
very sunny. Can't you see in my face how I'm so blocked out?
I don't know.
It's actually beautiful out.
It's gorgeous.
Beautiful out here too. So, but Vancouver does have varying degrees of like sun and gray. So I don't freaking know.
It's like summer in the way that you might look at it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah. So then so that you've now transitioned into your PR company, correct?
Yeah.
And that's in a couple of months, or?
Yeah. It's been going great. I don't know if you were following the story, but like, we were in Forbes, Huffington Post, The Star. We were on TV, CBC, CTV, Yahoo, and so I was pretty good at getting press to pick up the story, and then I'd go and leverage those articles for sponsorships, like with TripAdvisor, Discovery Channel. And so once I had the sponsorships, I could get better content. And once I had better content, I could get a bigger audience, which then leads to more press. And so I would kind of keep that circle going.
Amazing.
And I realized that not many people know how to navigate press. They have no idea.
Nope.
They just expect people to beat a path to their door. And as a result, they get nothing. And or they'll be dealing with negative press and they don't know how to navigate that and how to spin that into something positive. And so I'm just like, you know, Global Degree has actually been an example of how press can get you a lot of things. And so I'm kind of a walking, talking case study for that. And so now my chapter with Global Degree is done with. Now my job is just help other people tell their stories and help them get big press. And actually it's been working great. In fact, we did an article on top podcast for 2021. Really? And when you Google podcast 2021, we're at the top. Like, you know, they auto-populated our article.
Wow.
And top podcast 2021. Okay, so...
Oh my God, can we be on that list?
Are we keeping the screen recordings in this, or is it just audio? Oh, okay, yeah, of course. We can make things happen.
Yeah.
Fine. No, just have that. Are you kidding me? Anyway.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. All day long, I listen to people's stories. I see under their hoods of their companies and their personal brand and help them tell their story. It's a lot of fun.
Amazing.
Right. Did you have some like precursor education to nothing? So you just basically, you know, and I bet you've answered this a million times, but how did you start the whole Global Degree? Like, I don't actually even know, like, how did that begin? Because when I go on the website now for Global Degree, it's actually difficult to find information about you now. it's all about, which just means you've built this thing that's greater than you, which is amazing, right?
Yeah. And then, we started the academy, which was going well. We put it on pause while I finished East Africa. Luckily, we did that because we were about to take on a bunch of investment and sink a bunch of money into it, which we would have gotten burned hard. But coming out of COVID, there's a huge demand for companies like Global Degree Academy. And just to summarize, it's groups of students traveling together while completing their distance studies from their home universities. So, someone's studying business at UCLA, they're sick of being on campus, or they can't be on campus. They don't want to work in their mom's basement. They want more of an immersive experience. So they go and switch to distance, travel with Global Degree Academy with about 30 other students and a professor to proctor any exams.
Yep.
And then they'll probably study 2-3 days a week and then go adventure and have fun, traveling an entire continent, the other remaining parts of the week, and graduate with their degree. And it's cheaper than what it costs for tuition.
Wow.
Like in-school tuition. Distance is cheaper.
Wow.
That's insane. So, but how did you start this whole idea? I want to know. I'm trying.
So going way back in 2013, I was 24. I had done a 3-week trip to Thailand solo. I was supposed to go with my girlfriend at the time, but we had broken up in between the flight, the day she got the tickets and the actual flight.
Oh gosh.
And so I just went solo. And first one was I overcame a fear of loneliness. Traveling alone is kind of scary, especially for your first time to a foreign country.
No kidding.
You're just like convinced no one's going to want to hang out with you and talk to you. And like, it's scary to be alone. That went right out the window. Like you show up to hostels in Thailand and, you find your squad right away, and then you guys go on wild adventures and have the best time of your life. I still talk to all these people.
Yeah.
I even realized that if people don't speak English, you can just play a game of charades and communicate that way.
Yeah.
Number 2 is money. I was spending more money as a ghost in Vancouver with car payments, cell phone bills, subscriptions, all this shit. And I wasn't even there. Then I was living like a king in Thailand. It's just so cheap. Yeah. And still to this day, it's cheaper for me to travel the world than to live in Vancouver.
Oh my God.
And it's true.
Wow.
And anyone who lives in an urban city, it applies to them as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's why we left. I mean, one of the reasons why we left, and we live in the Okanagan. I adore up here.
Right.
Although people are starting to flock here too, because they're realizing, but that's crazy. And I was just talking to Hiiro because I just read something that according to Google searches where people want to relocate the most, and the most popular country, like Canada's number one. There's another study that just came out that Canada's the number one most ideal country to live in. Right?
Wow. Yeah, I believe it.
Bigger cities like Vancouver and Toronto and whatnot. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's not going to slow down anytime soon, I think.
Well, the thing is, remote work is changing things, though. People don't need to work in cities.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, you're right. That's
true. That's why apartment sales are going way down. And I think, cost of living might go down a little bit in the cities, but it's going to elevate elsewhere, right? Mm-hmm. People are just moving. But anyways, still a fact to this day, it's cheaper to travel the world than to live in Vancouver. And the last one was misconceptions. I thought the world was this big, scary place. That's what I grew up to think. And the thing about Thailand is it's a melting pot of people from around the world. And they're telling me things like, hey, I think Thailand's nice. Come to Vietnam, come to the Congo, come to Kenya, come to, Egypt. Everyone's pitching their own country. And I'm like, well, how deep does this rabbit hole go? What if the world is this amazing place and I have nothing to fear? And how many misconceptions are in my mind? So on the last day, I just made this promise, this Facebook post saying I'm going to go to every country in the world by 30 or I'm going to die trying. Either I do it or I cease to exist. Those are my only 2 fucking options.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty medieval.
I love
People have literally thought I lost my mind. Like literally, people were concerned. They're like, whoa, Mike's been smoking something down there.
right? Yeah.
Wow.
You like took the freaking, I was gonna say the balls by the, I don't know what I was gonna say. Bull by the
Goes by horns.
I
something.
took the bull by the balls.
Yeah, literally.
And you did it. Like, I mean, it's one thing to say it, but I mean, Jesus. So then at that point, it was 6 years between then and this past February.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what's the longest period of time you spent back in Vancouver?
3 months.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I almost wanted to ask this near the end of our time with you, but I'm going to ask it now. I mean, you might not have just one, but what was maybe one of the most incredible places you did travel to? I mean, that's a broad question, but I'm sure there must be top 3 that must be in your head.
I'll give you one for each like region. I think
Sure.
that's fair. Central America, El Salvador is quite surprising. I really enjoyed it. Guatemala was the best overall. I think it's so much variety. We did Lake Atitlan. It's like this lake surrounded by volcanoes. It's called Samuk Champay, but they call it nature's playground because we're sliding down mossy rock slides. We're swinging on vines,
Oh my gosh.
climbing up waterfalls and cave waterfalls. It's like
That is
Oh.
real life down there. It's amazing. And that's in Guatemala.
okay.
Down in South America, I really enjoyed Colombia just because of the vibrancy of the culture. They're obviously trying to turn the page of history and start fresh. And we were there during the World Cup when they beat when they beat Uruguay and Japan. And we were in Medellin during a party of 50,000 people on the streets and everyone wearing those yellow jerseys and just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people and cultures. And again, a lot of variety.
Wow.
In Asia, Bhutan's like going to the past 2,000 years. Everyone's wearing traditional robes and they just live in these fortresses in the mountains. And, we hike and see birds' nests. It's this tiger's nest. It's this huge monastery built 10,000 feet on the side of a cliff.
Wow.
And it's just like, it's not 2020 over there. It's, couple thousand years ago. And then if you want to go to the future, go to Baku in the capital of Azerbaijan.
Baku.
Heavily subsidized by the government. It's a very rich oil country. And it's so modern and futuristic and clean, and shopping malls look like UFOs. And they have this thing called the Three Flame Tower. It's the Fairmont, and buildings are designed they look like flames.
Wow.
And there's this thing called the Stairway to Heaven. There's tens of thousands of glowing stairs at nighttime. And you're just like, it's far out. It really is a spectacle. It's a beautiful place. And in Europe, I really like Montenegro. It's like an undiscovered Croatia. Great for boating. Kotor and Budva look like, cities from Game of Thrones. Like
my
these, yeah, it's unbelievable. And I also really like Malta because it's a combination of European history with African climate.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
And the history, you're talking like 4,000-year-old history there, and just really interesting. Again, amazing people. Africa, Namibia is a spectacle. It's just incredible desert landscapes, like you've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
Djibouti is a spectacle. Not many people know about Djibouti, but have you heard of couch surfing?
I've heard of couch surfing, yeah.
Yeah, so couch surfing is like this exchange of people letting you crash on their couch all over the world, and it's free of charge. And I was with a Swiss guy named Felipe, who had hosted over 500 people in Switzerland. So he's a super host. So whenever we travel with Felipe, he can stay anywhere for free with any of the couch surfing community.
Wow.
So we stayed with the president's secretary in Djibouti, who hosted us on couch surfing. And so we had our own chef, we had our own driver. He wanted to get us funding, so he went to the tourism board, got us funding that day, and then we had a caravan all across the country filming their country. And like, it was amazing. Just no one's ever heard of Djibouti, and it's like such an amazing country.
That is insane.
What I find is really interesting is like every single country you just mentioned, almost all of them, I feel like nobody goes to.
Yeah, right.
The one that you just said, I was trying to picture in my head. I'm like, do I know anyone that's been there? No, except for Guatemala,
Yeah.
and Colombia probably.
Yeah.
But that's what I find very fascinating. Like, there's just so much out there that I cannot wait to start traveling again. Like, it's just.
Mm-hmm. And I discovered a lot of places, because it was on the list. Like, why are you here? Well, it's on the list. Mongolia was another perfect example of that. We were staying with Kazakh eagle hunters. We had these like pet vultures on our shoulders. I don't know if you saw the photos. It's like so far out. But then at the same time, you're driving through the middle of the Gobi Desert. It looks like the Sahara Desert, and all of a sudden there's a frozen waterfall in the middle of the desert.
Oh.
Yeah, and you see sand dunes behind them, ice-capped mountains, like, side by side. And you're just like, where is this? Like, where am I? What is this? This isn't planet Earth.
Real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Real. I have to ask, just because of our podcast name, what did you think of Israel?
I loved Israel. We were there for the Gay Pride Parade in Tel Aviv.
Oh my gosh.
That place was bumping.
I've been to Israel. Like, it's funny enough because it actually is quite far from here, but a long time ago. But wow, okay, Gay Pride.
It was bumping.
I would love to go. I know it's a mecca.
It's a mecca.
And
it's like the rest of the Middle East, obviously sensitive for some reason. Tel Aviv, it's the mecca. It's so beautiful. It's so vibrant. We also went to Jerusalem. We went to Nazareth. Okay, so here's a funny story. We were there during the missile strikes.
Whoa.
I don't know if you remember last April.
There
was some soldier shot on the Gaza, and they retaliated by shooting 800 missiles. And funny story is, I was there, and I remember we were at this, like, in the crater when we were at this really nice hotel, and I was looking. I'm like, hey, look, there's fireworks. And then our guide's like, no, that's not fireworks. Those are missiles. And I'm like, are you sure? Because they kind of look like bottle rockets. And he's like, well, here's the truth. I think it's Hezbollah, or one of the groups. They're like, they don't actually want to hurt anyone. They just want to make a point. And because if they hurt too many people, then the UN will get involved and shut it down. They don't want the UN involved. So all they're trying to do is they're pointing these bottle rockets at these cities, hoping the city will shut down. Because he said if a city shuts down for one day, they lose about $50 to $100 million worth of transactions that day. So it's an economic warfare. It's not an actual warfare.
Right.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was really interesting to see that, to learn that perspective. I think there was total 2 casualties accidentally injured from these total missile strikes. But just put that into perspective. A small town in Israel loses 50 to 100 million per day being shut down.
Wow.
Think about what COVID just did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? Just think about that economic loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, it's going to be fucking crazy the next few years after all this. Yeah, what a story. Actually,
I find that interesting. Like, it's kind of like news versus reality.
Yes.
No.
Yes, exactly. But also, I mean, I know, Rachel, you're going to say something, but
that's okay.
In some ways, not to play it down, but I would almost consider COVID like a world war. Like, yes, there aren't soldiers, but in terms of like the effect it's having on economy, or how many people's lives are at risk or being taken, it is basically like World War III.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like an invisible.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people have put it that way for sure.
Well, there's also governments exercising their power. The president of Austria created an emergency act giving him indefinite power. He's saying no more terms, no more elections. I have power because of COVID. And guess what? People wanted to protest, but they couldn't because of the social distance rules. People couldn't leave their home.
Oh my God.
So the act got passed. Something similar happened in Brazil. And, governments are printing money to give to their friends. They're printing money to save for their own initiatives.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, $15 trillion has passed hands in this year. It's the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. And
Holy cow.
all under the table. No one knows what's going on.
No. See, you're a good person to talk to about this, because I feel like because of your interests, obviously you probably have your finger on the pulse with a lot of the information that you just mentioned about different countries, because there's people, not that I'm trying to be naive to the whole situation, but it's just fucking stressful. Like, I try not to look at the news all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of those things, I think because of fear and because of anxiety of us maybe not wanting to continually look at the news, a lot of those things people don't necessarily know about because they're just tired of seeing bad news. So they're not.
Yeah, and we weren't very political on the trip. Our mission is to prove people are good everywhere and shouldn't be judged by their government. And so we're just trying to show the people. So I did try to avoid politics. I know that I know nothing about these issues. I was just trying to show people are awesome everywhere. That was the mission.
That's absolutely beautiful. And then, like, with your new mindful media. So I'm just reading what, I guess, for lack of better words, your mission statement, I guess, so to speak, about mindful individuals coming together and just. Yeah.
So what's going on with that is, like, everyone was asking, Mike, what are you going to do next? You just finished every country. You're going to go to space. You're going to bomb the ocean. Like, what's next? And I was thinking about starting a new project today, and it's a different landscape than it was 6 years ago. Like, when I started, there was about 3 or 4 other YouTube channels, like doing anything content created, like vlogger related. Like, it just didn't exist back in 2013. Today, everyone's going to every country. Look at the millions of people with, like, their little country counter, and everyone has a podcast, and everyone has a side hustle, and everyone's an entrepreneur and a supermodel. And you know what I mean? And so each person's their own island and is their own broadcast station. It's empowering, it's a good thing, I guess, in some ways. But in terms of competition, there's so much noise and there's so much congestion. Add on to that media and add on to that fake news and, fear tactics, which trumps everything else. And so I'm asking myself, like, how is an important company or an important person getting their message out today? How are they doing it? It's really, really hard to be heard. And so that's strictly what we're about now, is to help, like, these people get the biggest press in the world to tell their story, which deserves to be told,
Well, and 2 things that I really strive for, and it's interesting, I actually was interviewed on a podcast last night in Australia for teaching yoga, and the person that was interviewing me mentioned that in looking through what I've created and what I represent in my media, my brand, website, etc., she says the 2 things that stand out to me the most, she says, is authenticity and vulnerability. And she asked if that was intentional or if that was just organic. And so my answer was, that's who I am as a person, and therefore it reflects in anything I do as a person, whether if it's from me digitally or interpersonally. And I think that's what makes the difference in people recognizing something from something else, is what's your intention? Is it authentic? Is it vulnerable and sincere? And does it have a message that really connects the people, no matter what reach it might have, right? Because that's going to impact that many people in that sincere way that might actually make a difference in the world that they see it through.
And what's interesting, something that really is kind of pissing me off, maybe I'll piss people off by saying this.
Go.
Just what you said, I just feel like you're 100% correct, but I feel like those words, vulnerability because we talk about that a lot, vulnerability, authenticity, your tribe, like being you, living your truth. It's like those have almost become selling tactics. Like there's so many.
They're also mainstream. Everyone's vulnerable.
Exactly.
But that's the thing is they're not actually vulnerable. They're trying to be vulnerable.
They're trying to be. So if it's transparent and you can tell when someone is being intentionally who they are as opposed to trying to do it as a tactic. It's so different. Like the gay
but then
pride
you
parade
also have people being victims now. Victimization and it's good for, you get a lot of attention when you
do. And you get a lot of spam and a lot of scam as well. And
then you're just like, oh, yeah.
So like it does make my blood boil because it's like when you do talk about those words, but you truly are being vulnerable. Like we talk about a lot of raw shit on our show that a lot of like that. It's not like we've scripted it. I mean, it's all coming from a real place, but we try not to use those buzzwords because I do feel like they are overused. But when somebody like maybe, again, like I don't want to ostracize anybody, but if someone's approaching me, sorry, everyone out there, and they're talking about joining my tribe and like, I feel like, and I'm like, no.
It makes me sick. I hate the word tribe.
No, it's just.
What is it? Survivor? The tribe has spoken? No, get the fuck out.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is with all that being said, then Mike, how do people rise above that if they are doing like they actually are?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I try and work with the story.
Right.
The reason my story worked is because no one was doing it. If you're doing something no one's doing, you're a first mover, then you get a bunch of attention, right? And then you can navigate that to create whatever you want to create.
Correct.
I'm taking other people's brands and I'm trying to like, okay, where's the story? What makes you guys unique? But then the second thing is just access to mainstream media. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten press before, but when you get press is you're swinging the bat. Sometimes you miss, nothing happens. Other times you get struck by lightning. And so it's kind of like we're helping people go up to bat and take swings with press because we know that, mainstream tier one press, you're talking millions and millions of eyeballs, but most importantly, you're talking about authority and credibility. You've created a stamp of approval, which, I mean, that's what I did with Global Degree. If we weren't on Discovery Channel, if we weren't working with TripAdvisor as an official partner, we weren't sponsored by GoPro. I mean, these are big familiar names, and you are the culmination of your associations. I think podcasts are probably judged by the guests on the show. Who are you interviewing? Are you interviewing like some top tier people, or is it your neighbor's dog? And like what caliber of people are on this? So what you could do with press is go and get some featured in some major magazines and websites, use that to get big names on the show, which then big names on the show leads to a bigger audience, and a bigger audience leads to even bigger names and more press, and you kind of keep that circle going.
Yep, it's a feedback loop.
Yeah.
Feedback loop. And if you can understand that and you can leverage that and play that game, then all of a sudden you might end up with a huge podcast,
Totally. And it's common sense. That's just basic business to business marketing and omni-channel marketing in terms of understanding how people receive and how they transmit information and how it can become viral versus organic.
Right. Well, that's the thing. And Mike, we've only been doing this for 3 months. That's it. Wow. 3 months. We had this, this idea. We knew we connected really well with each other, and we just thought we need to work on, we need a project together, so that's kind of how it all came about. But yeah, but it is true. Like, you have this, it's something that probably both of us wanted to do for a long time, but now, especially with COVID, like you said, I mean, everybody has a fucking podcast now, especially.
And a puppy.
And a puppy and a kitten and a cat, like I saw walking in the background of your plate.
Yeah, this is Carol.
Aw, hi, pussy.
But everyone's always had a cat, okay? Don't fucking get the cat in this. Right? That's a human thing.
Yeah, but like, no, I mean, just to start something new or that's uncharted territories is like, it's almost unheard of now these days. I mean, you definitely, not that you were lucky, you're good at what you were doing, but that's like, it's kind of unheard of now, I think, perhaps.
Well, you guys are onto something, even with the Jew twist. I think that's funny. I think there's like, you're onto something. You just got to keep playing with it. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the right things and in yoga and meditation, you know, maybe like some slapstick humor in the meditation space could actually be kind of funny.
Right.
You know, some like Jewish humor on this whole spirituality thing.
Oh yeah.
Could be kind of good.
That's coming. It's in our queue of our one-on-one relationship episodes. That's one thing we wanted to make sure with our podcast is that we have our guests that we can connect. And whether if we're in a space of maybe not having a guest for a couple of weeks, and even if we did, making sure we have our own dialogues, because that's what's prompted the podcast was our dialogues, and they are ridiculously unpredictable.
And behind my shoulder, you see this little Jewish man
Yeah.
sitting on my shoulder. So this is the mensch on the bench. So we talked about him last episode. Because, and he's actually a real, okay, hold on. So this guy exists. So he was this gentleman, Neil, oh my God, what's his last name?
Shalom, achi.
Yeah. Shalom, hala. So the mensch on the bench actually was this guy's reaction to Elf on the Shelf.
Okay.
So have you heard of the Elf on the Shelf?
No.
I had neither.
Okay, well, it's like a kid's toy anyway. So he's like, there has to be a Jewish, like, you know, response to something Christmassy. And so he actually has some Yiddish words. He says, you press his hand. He's got like, anyways.
Okay. Actually, funny story there. When we were at the West Wall for Shabbat, I was there. And you had all the Orthodox Jews with like this, getting to like this state of trance. And everyone, it was far out. That was like a moment. I was like, whoa, this, like, you can feel the energy. It's like this wave of energy, and they're all getting into it. And you're like, whoa, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that was interesting.
I do remember that too. Like I said, it's been a number of years, but, and when you were there, because I know still to this day, the women have to be separated from the men.
Yeah.
Like, women's side and the men's side.
Yeah, but all the women are like peeking over because the men get way more intense. The women are just quiet into themselves. The men are just fucking going off.
There was like bar mitzvahs going on. I remember like young men, young kids were like reciting things from the Torah, and they were like, "Oh my God, yeah, 100%.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, you know, this has been. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up here? Is there anything, I mean, I don't know if you had an agenda of anything that you want to talk about.
No. Any final questions or weird questions?
Weird questions?
Yeah, I mean, again, if like, is there anywhere else in the world that you have not been to that you would go to? Again,
Antarctica.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Not a country, but it's a continent, and I haven't been there, and I want to go.
That's what I was gonna say. Like he has he been to Antarctica? Like has he like shaken hands with a penguin yet?
No, obviously we have to do that.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Antarctica and Patagonia.
Okay.
I need to go do the Galapagos. I cheaped out on that. I want to go back.
Yeah.
Even like Greenland and all up there. It's gonna be super strange. You know, I want to go check that out.
Yeah. Okay, then, because you said any weird questions, what's the grossest thing you had to do or did do, or like, is there anything super juicy in that respect? Did you puke on a Campbell's butt? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know where that came from.
Did you wipe your ass with your left hand in India?
Yeah, I mean, like.
I had to eat ostrich fetus in Philippines, so like a little baby chicken in there, you eat it. It's a delicacy.
Yeah,
I drank.
Was it cooked? Sorry, that's a dumb.
It was like boiled-ish, I think.
Yeah.
We drank bubbly fermented camel milk, warm bubbly camel milk in Mongolia.
Yeah.
Chunky.
Oh,
Um, I ate a tarantula. I think it was probably about that big, and in Japan or in China, actually, in Beijing.
Yeah, they're a delicacy, right?
Yeah. Um,
you know what? Actually, different question. I feel like nothing scares you. Perhaps. What scares you? What actually?
commitments.
As your girlfriend is not here.
Girlfriend's not there yet.
Girlfriend's not here. The idea of a family.
Go. We'll have to have you back and talk all about those things.
Formalized education.
Yes, that I am all about.
Oh.
Education's amazing, but formal education, never.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can be a graduate of Google, go to the University of YouTube. You
Right.
know, it's all there. It's all free.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
maybe not open heart surgery, but the majority of other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and now of course we're like wrapping it up, but then what I did want to ask you prior to or earlier in the conversation is, as you even were traveling recently, or because you traveled so much, like, do you feel from your eyes that travel will come back? Like when it comes back, like how much do you think it'll change? Do you think it'll be more expensive? Do you think, I know it's not your expertise to analyze this.
Oh, that's a great question. And I have thought a lot about it.
Yeah.
For the majority of the year, I just thought it was just going to be a bounce. Like they come up with a vaccine,
Yeah.
show goes on.
Yeah.
That changed when I realized that consumer behavior has changed, and it's not short term. It's pretty fundamental, and I don't know if it's going to bounce anymore. I'm not so convinced. Also, a friend from the UN told me that they think I'll be the last person to go to every country, at least this decade, for the next 10 years, because you remember pre 9/11, post 9/11, how much security.
That was my example. Yeah.
Oh,
Remember that?
That was my reference point.
Here's the future. Pre-COVID, they used to just scan your bags. Post-COVID, they scan your bags, and now they have to scan you because you are a potential carrier of hazardous, deadly weapons.
wow. Yeah.
You're now with CRISPR and all this gene splicing, we're now entering potential bioterrorism, where people are intentionally creating diseases to shut down the world. And so countries like, Sudan, how are they going to navigate this? Well, they're going to wait. They're going to wait until the technology comes out, it's released, it becomes cheap and scalable, and then they're going to buy all the proper technology before letting people in. And so think about how many small countries have to get caught up to speed with all this new technology before they feel like they're safe.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
Yeah,
I mean, like in terms of privacy, it's out the door, especially for travel and transport. They're going to start scanning you and like entering your body.
Yeah.
What's going on in there.
Right.
And so
Well, I wouldn't mind that.
just a probe every now and then,
Yeah.
never hurt anybody.
I'll be traveling a lot more often if that's the case. Let's go.
True. We have extra small, medium, large, extra large.
Let's start with extra small and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, work our way up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my
But
god.
with any dark time, there's light that comes. So there's going to be something super positive from this whole experience. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, I am too. Honestly, when push comes to shove, I totally agree with that. I mean, beautiful and positive things are already happening. I mean, like all these, family time together. I mean, all these, resetting ourselves and the environment and all that kind of stuff has kind of been happening.
Well, you're starting to think about hundreds of millions of people are now working remotely. They don't need to be anywhere in any single location. They could go be on a beach in Bali
Yep.
Or they could go be on a beach in Goa in India or wherever, so you have these economies where I want to go get jobs in rich countries like, Dubai, London, New York, but I want to service those jobs in developing countries, like the Philippines. So I'm getting paid in the English pound, and I'm living on a little beach hut in the Philippines, and so I'm keeping all the difference, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. A lot of people are going to be going to these destinations to be servicing contracts and filling their KPIs and servicing this gig economy. And so countries now have to try and facilitate that. So having the strongest Wi-Fi, the co-working spaces all over the place where they can count on that to work. Just providing that for these remote workers, because I think this remote workforce is global and it's fluid and it's in motion, and there's going to be a lot of that coming up. A lot more Airbnbs.
Oh yeah.
A lot more hostels, a lot more shared co-living, not so much hotel where each person's kind of doing their own thing. It's very much more coercive, just to make room for all these people.
Right.
So interesting. On a small scale, not globally, but even just what I mentioned before about people moving to the Okanagan and so much more. Mm-hmm. It's insane what's happening up here right now in Vernon, of a city. I mean, like, we're only 40 minutes from Kelowna, 35 minutes. So it's pretty close. But in the greater Vernon area, there's maybe like 42,000 people. But what we're seeing right now is where, like what you just said, people are working remotely. So people that always wanted to move to the Okanagan can now do it. And they're snapping up these homes that still are very affordable. But that is, we're already noticing in the past few months, like how that's starting to change already so quickly. And like, whereas some homes that were on the market like a year ago, or businesses or commercial spaces, were not able to be sold, they are not lasting longer than like 24 hours. I mean, some of these places that were literally for sale for like a year are all of a sudden they're gone.
Whoa.
Can't find anything. Like, we've got friends that are trying to find a house right now, or houses. And it's like, if you don't act on it in 24 hours, it's got an offer.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're starting to, and it's mostly people that work remotely now, and they're coming from the coast. So that's, yeah.
And I'm aware apartments are going to go down, land is going to go up, because like any schmuck's going to look and be like, why am I paying $3 million for a fucking hole in the wall when I can go buy a big piece of land out in West Vancouver?
Yeah.
Right. It just doesn't make sense. So I actually made an offer on a piece of land in North Van, a house for 1.8 million, which is, believe it or not, that's the bottom of the barrel. Like you like, there's nothing decent or nothing at all under 2 million. And I know that same piece of land will be worth 2.5 next year, 3 the year after. It's like, land is limited and people don't see the value in the homes downtown right now. So like, land is going to get gobbled up.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. It's happening.
Wow.
It's happening. Vancouver, I don't think we've seen our ceiling yet. I don't know if we're ever going to come back down necessarily, but anyway, yeah. So on that, I don't know if that's kind of depressing or exciting, or
it's exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
Every 100 years, the world, society gets shaken up and everything changes, and it's back to square one. I don't care if you're $1 billion company or you're starting a startup in your garage. No one knows what's going to happen next, and that's the beauty of it.
Awesome.
Well said.
That is well said. There's one more thing that we tend to like to ask our guests at the very end of the episode, and maybe we'll change this question at some point, but first thing that comes to your mind, if you were a fruit juice, what would you be and why?
Fruit punch.
Well, it's really quick. Fruit punch.
Love that.
And if you go to the Caribbean, you'll understand what rum punch is.
Oh, I'm gonna have to Google that.
It's, yeah.
That sounds pretty dangerous and pretty delicious.
That's exactly what it is.
Rachel, don't get me started.
About punch? What?
Dangerous and delicious.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can talk about that when Mike's gone. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Nice to see you again.
Me too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's been a
for
pleasure. Rachel,
gracing
good
us.
for you. Just your face. Good for you.
But you know what? You know what the secret is?
What's the secret?
Not had children. Maybe that's the secret. I don't know.
What is it?
I've not had children.
Oh, not having children.
A, no kids, and B, fairly good genes. Because both my parents, honestly, like my mom's just turned 70 last year, and she looks 10 years younger. My dad is the same way, but knock on wood.
Button.
But hey, Mike, I'm sure that your parents would remember me. So
I'll tell them you say hi.
Rachel then says hello, and they'll be like, "Oh my god." And I do talk to John once in a while on Facebook. He'll randomly, after like years, just send some random like, "Hey, how's it going?" So I'll reach out to him as well.
Yeah, he does the same with me. I don't know why,
What a dink. Anyway,
I'll tell the whole family you say hi. Everyone remembers you.
thank you. Yeah.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We'd love to have you back in the future for anything you want to share, talk to us about. We want to be able to support you in anything that's going on in your life and your ventures. So,
Thank you guys so much. And if you need help with press and blowing the show up, I'd be happy to talk with you guys about it. And
yes, please.
So yeah, all the best. And we'll continue to watch each other's journeys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care. See ya. Bye. Thanks, handsome.
Thanks.